Welcome, everyone. My name is Donna Bishop, and it is my pleasure to be here to facilitate this amazing conversation today with two force of nature mavens of the green beauty industry. Mary Feuther is here, the founder of Kaia Naturals, and I'm going to let you know a little bit more about Kaia in a second. Just want to thank Lucid Communications so much for bringing us all together. If you have any questions, please put them in the chat that you see on YouTube. We'll get to them at the end. If you're getting that annoying, create a channel to participate, please don't worry. You can email Lucid. Alana's going to put an email in there so that she can post your questions, and we'll be sure to get to them at the end of the event. So Mary Feuther, welcome. You founded Kaia Naturals almost a decade ago, and for those who aren't familiar with Kaia, it is a luxury green beauty company that's rooted in transparency, clean ingredients, sustainability. And what I think really amplifies all of this is your curiosity, your addressing and tackling of a scope of skincare and hair issues that are perhaps decidedly unsexy, but certainly are incredibly relevant. So if I may quote you, it's not humiliating, it's just human. And that is definitely something that we're going to be talking about today. So welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
So let's get right into it. Today is the launch of the Takesumi Bright Collection. Kaia already has such a leadership position in the natural deodorant category. What is different about this collection? What makes it special?
Well, I think first of all, for me, this came as a bit of a surprise when I thought of my product development, because it was really inspired by consumer emails and pictures of underarms and this particular problem that existed that I didn't know. And so I started getting approached by women of color that had this particular issue.
And what is this particular issue?
Dark spot, like pigmentation issues on the body, but particularly the underarm area. And it actually then turned out that it was some of my own employees actually had that issue. And so what happened was we started having conversations about it in the office. And I was told it's a thing. And I learned a ton from just those around me, including consumers. So I started looking into it because I thought, well, how big a thing is it? And it turns out that it's just something people don't talk about.
So there's so much there I want us to unpack a little bit. So I want to take it sort of like piece by piece. You've mentioned that it is this, dark spots on the skin. Does it have a name? Is it just hyperpigmentation? What is the name of this issue, if there is one?
Well, there is. The one that I'm addressing, particularly for dark spots in the underarm or anywhere on the body, like knees, elbows, that one is caused, the one that I'm addressing is caused from post-inflammatory, which is code for self-inflicted, but inflammatory causes the pigmentation issue. So it's usually shaving, waxing, plucking, picking. So if it was a blemish that they picked or a bug bite that they picked, they'll pigment from doing that. And the women that generally suffer from that are, we're calling the term now is melanin-rich skin.
And what does that mean, melanin-rich skin? Like, and I know we have a photo of the dark pigmentation under the underarms. Is it melanin-rich skin? What does that mean? Does it happen to just anyone? Is there a particular segment of the population that is particularly susceptible?
Well, it's defined as anyone who actually tans when they first go into the sun. So the first of the season, if their skin tans, they're considered melanin rich. If you burn, you're not in that category. However, it's not just for dark skin pigments. It's also almost any ethnicity. So the Asian skins have a yellow tone to it. Mediterranean skins have an olive tone. They'll hyperpigment as well. Of course, it's more prevalent with brown and black skins because of the melanin-rich qualities of their skin, but it does happen to everyone. So it's not just underarms, it's also bikini line, anywhere where there is trauma to the skin. So if you're shaving, waxing, or plucking.
Got it. So I want to get into a little bit about the, you said you got emails and whatnot from people. So are customers and clients emailing you about their underarms? Like, help me, give us a little bit of a snapshot as to how that came to be, Mary.
Yes.
Thank you.
This is my day in the office is I get pictures of people's underarms. So I get emails because I also write a blog. And so people email me questions on the blog. And they are absolutely inclined to send me pictures. And often I ask for pictures because I can't really tell them what the issue is unless I see a picture. And people don't seem to have a problem with that. And so I've actually learned a lot. And if I don't know the answer, I go and find the answer for them. And that's how I discovered this, but it kept coming up over and over.
And what would
And
they say? Like, it sounds like people are sharing something that's rather vulnerable. Is it just like, hey, I have these dark spots. Can you hook a sister up? What does it mean? Or is there more to it than that? Like, what are the stories people are sharing with you when they describe having this P1H, this hyperpigmentation?
well, I think the very first time that I had heard about it, I was actually at a function, and a woman of color came up to me, and she knew that I made a charcoal deodorant, and she asked me if it would lighten her underarms. I said, "Well, why do you want to do that?" And she said, "Because I have dark spots." She goes, "Go check YouTube." She said, "There's barely like well, most of them have views that are not under 500,000 views." And so I went on and I went, "Whoa." I looked it up, and absolutely, it's a thing. And there are tons and tons of tutorials online about crazy ways to get rid of dark spot pigmentation under your arms. Lemons,
And
potatoes, you
and
name it.
why are people wanting to get rid of it? Like, are they just annoyed by it? Is there
It's
some sort?
annoying.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
is it emotional too? Like, it sounds like there's some vulnerability there. Does it impact how they feel? Like, what are some of those more emotional touch points?
Well, I mean, put it this way. I mean, it certainly impacts your fashion choices. That's for sure. I mean,
Mhm.
from what I've been told, and we talked to so many people. One of the girls that actually is in my office is Filipino, and she said that, a lot of her friends, because it's quite prevalent with Filipinos, they talk about when wedding season, they call it, summer season comes up,
Mhm.
but what dress they're going to actually wear that doesn't show the pigmentation issues.
Right.
It's the same thing with East Indian women. Same thing. I have a girlfriend who is Indian and says the same thing. Oh my God, in wedding season, we're all worried about the pigmentation issues. And just because it's in here, just as a woman who has it on their face would be, they're looking for a concealer. So the problem
Right.
is that it's, 90 degrees out in a July wedding. Who wants to be wearing long sleeve dress? To conceal that, or you're at the gym and you really want to wear that tank top but you
Mm.
don't want to lift up your things to have dark
Yeah.
patches. So it just makes people feel uncomfortable. It's not that anybody's defined it, it's just they've defined how it makes them feel. And I think most people who have pigmentation, uneven pigmentation, feel that if it's in an area that it's particularly vulnerable,
Mm.
they find ways to conceal it.
So it definitely sounds it is a when you know kind of issue.
Yeah.
And because it is something that is so prevalent, you went into, your product development mode. Tell us about the Takesumi Duo. Like, now you've created a solution. Tell us a little bit about the products. How do they address P1H and this hyperpigmentation?
Well, here's the thing is that what
PIH, pardon me.
PIH, post-inflammatory. Um, the thing is that when I looked on social channels and when I looked in the marketplace, women were choosing to buy serums, which are not exactly easy to apply in the underarm area. There's all kinds of there's tons of hyperpigmentation or even PIH products out, but they're all designed for the face.
Mhm.
And the ease of use is a bit complicated when you want to use them on your body. So no one was really doing anything for specifically for the underarm. So there's a couple things that I also looked at is, first of all, people are inherently lazy, and your underarms isn't going to give you
Speak for yourself, Mary
that.
Fusa.
So what can I do that makes people not have to work any harder? Like,
Yeah.
who wants to put a mask on your underarm and
Yeah.
sit with your arms up for 20 minutes
Okay.
twice a week to get rid of pigmentation issues? I mean, that's not exactly a practice. And so I was kind of amazed. I'm like, who wants to put, a niacinamide serum or an alpha
Ooh.
arbutin serum and sit there and wait for it like on the underarm? And then, so my thinking about this is, why don't we just make a product So that doesn't ask the consumer to do anything that they wouldn't. They get in the shower in the morning, they do that, and they put deodorant on every day. But the tricky thing is with PIH in the underarm area, it is your underarm skin is like your eyelid skin. It's
Mm,
very sensitive.
right.
And it also is an enclosed dark rainforest. So it's a
Mm.
microbial like nightmare under there. So you can't really treat the underarm area the same way as you formulate for something for the face.
So
So
you've
I
made a soap, you've made a soap and a deodorant to address this. So for ease, what are the added the actives in the deodorant that make it different from maybe the other deodorants that you've already produced? Like what is its special ingredients that's going to address this for people?
Well, the big problem with PIH is that what most people don't understand is that the reason they're pigmenting is because of inflammation. And deodorants, particularly ones with baking soda in, and antiperspirants, because of the aluminum, are inherently the silent irritators. So you may not see a red rash, but it's actually further pigmenting your skin. And that was a lot of the emails that I was getting. So the problem is when you're shaving, waxing, or plucking, or whatever you're doing under there, you got to do that at night and give your underarm some time. But then what I did was developed a deodorant that A, doesn't contain any of those ingredients, also contains, so you don't have to go out and buy a niacinamide serum, you don't have to buy an alpha ibrutin serum. It contains that in there, but everything else in that formulation won't irritate skin that's melanin rich. And that is the real problem. You're getting those dark spots. So you have a twofold problem. You've got dark spots, thickening of the skin, and inflammation. So if I make a deodorant that addresses all of those things, they don't have to think about it. Just put the deodorant on and let it do its magic. But then the thing about PIH is if you layer the products, you will get great results. You'll get speed, and that's what everybody wants, the
And is
speed.
that
And
where the soap comes in? So you've got the
yes,
soap and the deodorant. So how do they work together?
well, I call it the double dose. And if you watch or talk to derms will say you got to be careful when you're layering actives because you can actually render them almost to be inert or crazy inflammatory. So what I did was I chose a wash off formulation and a stay on, and we also ones that were compatible. So kojic acid with licorice root, you will allow it to stay on 30 seconds and it's wash off. Kojic acid actually prevents the melanin from forming. So it works on a different matter. Then we added niacinamide and alpha arbutin on this formulation side for a stay on, and they work to minimize, to soothe and minimize. So we found
Okay.
four actives to, we just kind of targeted in crazy ways, but we use different formulations. So it's the double dose.
Now I want to go back to something that you said earlier because it made my little like antenna go up. Is you said that this hyperpigmentation can also happen on bikini lines. You know, I think you mentioned
Yeah.
knees. So, you know, I have never in my life used a deodorant anywhere than under my arms. So is this like tell me more about like you're mentioning these other body parts. So
Right.
how are these can you use these in other parts of the body? Like what's that all about?
Well, the kojic acid soap, absolutely. You can use it everywhere on your body. So if you've got acne, which is huge since the pandemic, everybody knows about that, chest acne, if you've got pigmentation anywhere on the body, I don't recommend ever a kojic acid soap. I know they do it in Asia and they're available, but I don't recommend it for the face.
Okay.
So it's for the body. So you can use the kojic acid soap, but if you want the 1-2 whammy, it is a deodorant. So yes, it does have a ferment in there that helps with the odor bacteria, but it can also be used as a body balm. So you get a 1-2 punch from the deodorant, which is if you've got a little bit of dark spots on the hands, if you do have dark knees, if you do have elbows, you can use the deodorant on it because what you're doing, it's a niacinamide bar basically with alpha arbutin. So
Okay,
yes,
I can hear the jaws on the floor and the eyes widening when you're talking about using a deodorant on your hand or on your elbows. What's the texture like? Because you're calling it a deodorant and body balm. So this is obviously not your normal everyday deodorant. What's the texture like? What does it feel like when you use it on other parts of the body?
Well, it's not a balm as we know a standard balm to be a body balm or a face balm.
Mm.
It is actually very dry in terms. It doesn't drag on the skin, but it has a more of a there's texture to it. So it and you can and also it's brown in color, which reflects the ingredients in it as well.
Mhm.
So it does have a bit of drag when it goes on the skin, but that's good because you can get coverage and then it penetrates into the skin. So yeah, it does have a stick format, just like a chafing stick would have.
Mhm.
It does have waxes in it to have a stick uh, formulation, but it's just kind of using like a chafing stick on it. A lot of people do use
It's a
deodorants as
treatment.
it's a treatment.
It's a skin
100
treatment.
exactly.
So I'm curious because, we talked earlier about how this is something that, it impacts people's fashion choices or maybe they feel self-conscious. Um, have you heard any stories of people like from the other side? Like what is the impact when a solution is found for this situation? Do you have any kind of anecdotal, stories of how it feels to people to be able to solve this problem that they have been carrying around?
Well, we actually, when we developed it, we had a test panel and we interviewed women of all ethnicities. And I think we have one that you have a video of, Dawn. I think that
You know
you
what?
may or may not, but there is.
It's going to be up on your social handles. I know you'll be sharing some amazing videos of the emotional impact with this,
Yeah.
and we'll have a screen at the end with what the social handles are where people can see that. So it sounds like this is, something that's not just a visual thing. It is much more than that. It's an emotional situation as well.
Yeah. A lot of girls will say that how it makes them feel. And it does, they feel uncomfortable, they feel embarrassed. There's all kinds of emotions that come with because it's in such it's in such an odd area for them.
Yeah,
And
it's vulnerable.
it's vulnerable. Yeah. And it kind of takes away from a sleek look as well, is that they're just afraid to lift their arms. So we just wanted to make something that was easy, that you don't have to go to a lot of extra work. You're going to put a deodorant on anyway. You're going to take a shower and use a soap anyway. Now you just have one less thing to worry about.
And I've seen your blog where you talk about the human condition and all of these, kind of perhaps embarrassing or not necessarily the first thing you want to talk about when you're out with
Yeah.
your pals
Friends.
over in our new patio free world. I'm looking forward. We're going to bring Laura Townsend, Director of Communication from the Detox Market, into the conversation because you mentioned the active ingredient niacinamide. And I have seen so many things that talk about that being one of the ingredients of 2021. Laura, welcome. It's wonderful to have you here. The Detox Market is such a leader around, the latest, products, ingredients, launches, and what's going on with the green beauty industry. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. We're so happy to be part of this.
So I know niacinamide, like it sounds like it's a hot ingredient for 2021. How are you seeing that ingredient fold into, what you're watching coming through the detox market?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, currently we have a small handful of products that are really featuring that ingredient, but I definitely think now as more information comes to light and we're seeing, different unique ways of utilizing the ingredient come through, because mostly it's just in skincare right now. I think we're gonna see it evolve.
Well, and you mentioned something that Mary was just talking about, as you said, it's something that we're seeing in skincare. And here's Mary incorporating it into a body care product, which, brings me ideas of like multitasking and whatnot. Is this something you're seeing with like body care drawing from the chemistry expertise of face care?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think people definitely are being more mindful of head to toe, right? So we're seeing people who are coming in looking not just for their face, but understanding how they can properly nourish their body with different skincare products. So for sure.
Mary, was this something that was a consideration for you? Were you looking at the skincare, facial care segment of the industry when you were looking at how to conquer some of these inflammation issues?
100%. I mean, that's where, you know, especially when you're working with raw ingredients, we only have a menu of so many things to choose from. My biggest thing was it was the delivery system. It was not designed for underarms or the body. So how could we design a delivery system that worked for this particular condition?
Mm-hmm.
And what was clever, like how could, like, I like this idea of layering, and it seems to be a popular topic on TikTok. Like the derms are talking about it as well, because everyone wants to buy their serums and want to make sure that they're layering them correctly,
Mm-hmm.
because sometimes you could just be wasting your money on them as well. So we do talk about that, and I also talk about like the right kind of alpha arbutin. There is different types, and the same
The
with
right kind
kojic
of
acid.
what? Sorry, the right kind of what?
Alpha arbutin.
Okay.
Sorry, that one of the brightening ingredients in it. So
Okay.
there's two types. So when I do little TikTok videos, and when I explain the whole series to people, I tell them what to go and look for when they're buying that particular ingredient, which one has the most efficacy. There's two types, because
Okay.
stability is a big problem in, especially when you're talking about serums and fruit acids. Like everybody knows that vitamin C is not stable. So
Mm-hmm,
it
mm-hmm.
oxidizes, and so you can be applying it and it's not doing anything because it oxidized. So we teach them, because kojic acid oxidizes as well. So we teach them about why we chose this one, and it's on the label, and this is what you should look for when you're looking for a kojic acid, which I think is still kind of
Yeah,
that.
education's such a part
Yeah.
of the skincare and the beauty industry. Laura, I love myself a good trend report. What can you share about what you're seeing in sort of like the top concerns that are coming through right now? It sounds like inflammation is definitely top of the list. What else are you seeing in terms of, maybe the top concerns or the things that people are addressing or seeking out for 2021 in our, I'm hesitant to say post-pandemic world, but
Don't say it.
certainly transitioning through our pandemic world?
Absolutely. Trends that we're seeing, definitely, inflammation is always kind of that key focus, just because it creates so many issues, right? So a lot of people are just becoming more educated with the microbiome of the skin. How can they protect that? How can they enforce that? Because, a good microbiome will really help any inflammatory skin issues, right? So we're really seeing people come in wanting to learn more about that. The pandemic, oddly enough, has really brought interest to, people wanting to really simplify and minimalize their skincare routine. I think people are just becoming more aware of our global, concern with sustainability and wanting to be mindful of waste. So people are really trying to find those multi-use products, which I think is great. And I think brands are paying more attention to that as well. There's some really great options out there. So those are some of the trends that we're seeing. Skincare always continues to be the biggest category for us. And now that we can remove our masks a bit more when we're outside, as we're really seeing the the makeup category bounce back, which is really nice. So
Yeah.
Are inflammation and like barrier protection and bacteria, do they all influence each other a little bit? Like, is it one of those things where if you are all of a sudden aware of your skin's biodome, you are therefore going to be more inclined to explore or become aware of issues that relate to inflammation, bacteria, that sort of thing? Do they relate to one another?
they definitely relate to one another, but I just think it's how it manifests on each person's individual skin, right? And I'm sure Mary can speak to this as well too, but what one person comes in for that could be related to inflammation might be something completely different for someone else, but it's definitely, intertwined, and inflammation is definitely rooted deep down inside. So if we're focusing on our diet and our choice of products, is it really helps to support that overall end goal of wanting to have really great skin. So
Mary, I see you nodding there. I mean, you're in the thick of our pits, like our
Yeah.
bacteria, inflammation. Like, speak to me about how these issues interrelate, because it sounds like when we address one of them, then we're doing ourselves the service of looking broader than that and exposing ourselves to more health and benefits.
Well, I mean, Laura's absolutely right. And I actually read a great quote the other day. And it was one scientist that said he thinks one of the most innovative learnings that came out of the last decade was about your stomach microbiome, which really does, and that whole digestive tract and our stomach and the microbiome and probiotics and all of that, they think is one of the most significant scientific discoveries. And I agree. And so I always say, like, food leads, and then especially in the natural industry, and then innovation comes from that. And so for me, that's why a lot of companies are talking about probiotics right now in deodorants. Because we know that, and I call it a ferment because there's some legalities around calling it a probiotic. So we don't do that, but we do say a ferment. And so the ferment is actually, that ferment does, because your underarm area, as I said, it's moist, dark, and wet. So microbial activity is happening like crazy. And so that's where the probiotic slash ferment comes in.
So that could happen anywhere
Yeah.
where our skin is in contact with itself. So if we have folds in the skin, around our belly, on our arm, in our back, all of those areas, it's not necessarily just our underarms that are susceptible to the bacteria, the odor, the hyperpigmentation that you're talking about. Hence why the takesumi deodorant and body balm is a treatment that you could use on other parts of your body.
Right, because you have skin folds in your elbows, you have skin folds in your knees, in the bikini line. So that is where the trouble starts. So pigmentation and bacteria and inflammation.
I want to take the conversation in a little bit of a different direction, because Mary, when you were talking about, who you made this product for, you were talking about those of us that have melanin rich skin. And it got me thinking a little bit, and Laura, I'd like to hear your thoughts on this, on, diversity within the green beauty space and how that has influenced product innovation or considerations in the past, and how that is shifting, which I hope it is. I mean, Laura, you tell me, are we seeing an impact of diversity in the brands and the chemists, that is because it's addressing more a diverse suite of issues? It's not so white girl homogeneous anymore.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, the past year and a bit now has really kind of shifted the industry as a whole, not just in the green beauty space, but I feel in the beauty space in general. And for us, our primary focus is really shedding light on different communities, right? Because for us, we want to make sure that we remain educated and that we are, just really bringing to market what's needed. It's quite clear that there are products that different diverse backgrounds that need, right? So we want to make sure that we are bringing those to our offering for sure.
Mary, tell me about your experience with this. How have you explored these diverse skin issues, if it's not something, because so often we just explore what is our own. So if it's not something that you were experiencing personally, tell me about your journey in who you spoke to, who you worked with.
Well, I took a consumer-centric approach to it because I was getting these emails, and and I will be the first to say, I had no idea that that first woman, I'll never forget her, approached me at a party, which I thought was hilarious, about her dark underarms. she didn't have an issue. She wanted me to make something, and so I said, she was curious about charcoal. And so after that, then I started seeing the emails, and then I asked. My own team is very diverse, and we often had conversations in the office about different ethnic, like just things that came up. I mean, because of sometimes hair texture. So, for instance, Filipinos often have problems with ingrown hairs. If you have coarse hair, any ethnicity that has coarse hair, generally speaking, you've got a problem with ingrown hairs too, which also then presents problems down there and under there, because you're going to hyperpigment if you're attacking them, and also how do you get rid of them is the other issue. So there was all those, but then when I decided that I was actually and did the research, talked to raw ingredient manufacturers, I then chose a manufacturer, and the chemist, when I raised this issue, said that I wanted to develop a product, was a woman of color. And she was a woman of color that actually had a lot of experience. She's an older woman, and she grew up in the Caribbean.
Can
And
you share her name, Mary?
I can't share her name because she's under contract with the manufacturer, and they have proprietary.
Understood.
So we won't go there. But she told me that when she grew up, that her mother always taught her after she finished shaving her underarms to use a lemon because she was going to get dark patches. This is like in the 50s probably. But she grew up, and so she laughed when I said that I wanted to develop this. She said, finally, she said, I've been telling my daughters to use this lemon. And I went, yeah, I know. I see so many YouTube videos, and then I see derm videos going, don't use fruit acids. You'll hyperpigment even more from using a lemon because you can't control. Like, it's all about formulation, right? Like, how much should you be putting in of a fruit acid? What should you be, how should you be emulsifying it? All that. So it's really tricky to use DIY recipes. And, I people ask me that all the time. They go, oh, I can just use a lemon and it'll lighten. I go, well, actually, it probably will hyperpigment you more. You'll see some results and then it'll bounce back. So she laughed because she went, well, now I can tell my daughters I don't have to use a lemon anymore. So she really was helpful, and she was the one that formulated the deodorant. So could I have asked for a better formulator? Absolutely not. I mean, she's been through the journey.
It sounds like that was a really powerful partnership, to be working with someone who had such an intimate experience with hyperpigmentation, PIH, and working with them to create a product that would offer a solution.
Yes, she helped me a lot, a lot. So, I obviously did my own research as well, but there was always anecdotal. And that's what you get. And then after that, we did panel testing. And obviously the collection, it's a tricky condition to treat. So, because you have to be careful about your percentages. So then we also did derm testing. So we went into clinicals with it and worked with a dermatologist in addition to a chemist. So.
Laura, Mary has talked so much about the vulnerability of some of her clients and staff as they've been sharing stories about PIH. At the detox market, do you find there's that level of vulnerability with your clientele as well? Like, I would imagine so often people come in because you might be the first person they've talked to about something that they're looking for a solution for.
Absolutely. I mean, for us, our primary focus is education, right? So when someone comes into the store, someone shops online or engages with us in our live chats, we really want to make sure that they're feeling as comfortable as possible. And I feel just by us naturally offering education and information is they do feel that they can ask questions, share stories. So we really try to make it a very inviting, safe space, any way that they're shopping with us, definitely.
And we have a couple of questions. One is from Sandra. She says she knows so many women who could benefit from this. Can you talk a little bit more about, are they everyday products, Mary? Can you use them multiple times a day? What about if you're at the gym, when you're swimming? Can you overuse them? Can you give a little bit more context to the nature of how to use these products?
The beauty of it is that we don't want to change anybody's routine. They shower, they put on a deodorant. So you use it as you would use any deodorant. Because it's been designed, it has aloe in it, it has the niacinamide. It's designed to have that buffer for inflammation. And as long as you're not, the only thing that we say is do not put it on after you've shaved. So we try to tell everybody, you have to address the inflammation. Shave at night, wax, and then don't put anything on. And your esthetician should be telling you this. Do not put anything on your underarms until at least the next morning. let the skin calm, or put aloe on it, let the skin calm, then put your products on it. But no, like, and same with the kojic acid. Would I tell you to use it and please don't use it to shave at all.
Good point.
Keep
Good
the
point.
razor away. So when you use these products, no, do not assault your skin first and then use these products. Use them in a calm state.
And what about, Mary, does it need to sit when you're using the soap, for example, does it need to sit on the skin? This is another question in the chat. Does it need to sit on the skin a little bit before you've washed it off to be effective? Or is there a benefit of time that's optimal that way?
We've actually, we've told people to start with 30 seconds. I've had derms say that you can leave it on for up to 4 minutes before, because you don't want, like kojic acid, you have to be careful as well. We've got it in at 1%, which is at efficacy, and also where a derm would say no more than 1%. So we capped it right there. So we can say you can leave it on the skin up to 3 minutes, but you do have to wash it off. Now, some people will say, and it's a good question, because they were like, how does it work if you wash it right back off? But it does actually, the acid does actually forms a barrier on the skin. So it does create that barrier on the skin. So wash off formulas do work. That's why cleansers work as well. Not the same as leave on. And that's why we paired it. You want to put the wash off first, then the leave on.
And because kojic acid is an acid, if I'm using it on parts of my body that will be exposed during the day, like maybe my shoulders or whatnot,
good
sunscreen, talk to me about 100%. Sun protection.
Yeah. We don't actually talk about it, because most of the areas that we're recommending for are hidden from daylight. But if someone chooses to use it on elbows, etc., yes. Sunscreen, just like you would with a vitamin C, just like you would with any fruit acid. I mean, most times they would say don't use it during the day, use it at night. But if you choose to use it during the day, make sure you're SPFing or putting a long sleeve over top of it after you've used the kojic acid. Yes, your skin will be sensitized to it, 100%.
So because we're talking about this double dose, I just want to kind of synopsize, get a synopsis of use. So I'm in my shower, I'm using the kojic acid soap. Maybe I leave it on for a couple of seconds. I rinse it off. If I only did that, are there benefits to doing that, or do
Yes.
I really? Okay, so what are the benefits of just using, like who might benefit from just using the soap, and then who might benefit from layering that with the deodorant?
Well, it's all about speed. And that is the real answer. And every time we talk to people, their first question was, how do I get rid of dark spots fast? They always said fast. People are impatient. The problem with post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation or any pigmentation issue is slow and steady wins the race. You cannot get rid of, we all know about hydroquinone, and sorry to say, it's yes, you can remove the dark spots a lot faster, but now that it's been banned or restricted in most countries because of its toxic profile, not a lot of derms are recommending it anymore. And most derms that are worth their salt, in my opinion, will say slow and steady wins the race. But with ours, if you double dose at least, because they both are naturally derived, it'll speed it up. So if you want a little bit, you want to see results a little faster, use both. If you're okay with just using the kojic acid soap and doing that every day, it's going to take a good 6 weeks. Most pigmentation issues, before you see it lightening, take 6 weeks. And I often tell people, this is a really good one, because it's hard to see. Sometimes, you know, when you're losing weight, you can't tell yourself, but your friends can.
Are you going to tell us to take before pictures, Mary?
Yes. Because honestly,
Fair
we
point.
did this it is. And we did it in a panel, and the girls that did it went, oh my gosh, I never realized how well that worked until you showed me they had to look each week. We had them take pictures, and between 1 and 6, you would be surprised. If I had not said, don't take pictures, they may not have said, well, it wasn't as speedy as I wanted it to be, until they saw the pictures and saw, wow, like it really did do the job. So I'm not telling you to go take pictures of your underarms, but if
Just
you really,
perhaps not post them on your own personal
yeah,
Instagram.
exactly.
But I know the Kaia Naturals Instagram has a lot, and TikTok has a lot of really interesting personal stories and images of what PIH might look like, and people have been very candid and vulnerable about sharing their stories. We're gonna be wrapping up really soon. Thank you so much, Laura and Mary, for being here. I just want to end it. I have one final question for you, Mary, and then I'm going to ask you both one final question as we wrap up. If anyone does have a question, if you haven't put it in the chat yet, please do. We can still get to it, or we can make sure you get it emailed to you afterwards. Mary, is the Takesumi Double Dose Bright Collection, is it going to replace my other deodorant for life, or am I just using this until I see the hyperpigmentation issue resolved to my satisfaction? What is the nature of frequency of use?
Well, what I would say to people is, for instance, your other deodorant, yes, if you are prone to this condition, then I would say stay on it forever. You don't have to double dose forever. Just double dose to get the results. Once the results have been achieved, then you can stay on the deodorant, because why not have that layer of protection? Because any sort of trauma, sometimes it doesn't take much to cause that hyperpigmentation. So then you have the protection with the niacinamide and the alpha-arbutin in the deodorant. Plus you've got that nice aloe. So, you know, you're still going to shave, you're still going to wax. Like, I can't ask people to stop doing that. Just stop plucking. But those are so I would say it would become your new deodorant for life. So if you're one of those women, or it's primarily women, if you're one of those women, then just use the deodorant that's designed for your skin type.
Wonderful. Laura and Mary, it has been so wonderful having you here today. Thank you so much. This has been so informative. I'd like to end with asking both of you, and Laura, I'm going to start with you. As leaders, as people who are deep in the green beauty industry, what is exciting you the most about what's happening in green beauty right now?
Oh gosh, I mean, we've been in this industry for 10 years now, and just the evolution of it itself has been night and day from when we started to where we are. So I think we're really excited about, just the innovation in formulation, the product packaging. We're so excited to see new brands come to market, especially the BIPOC brands. So we've seen how far we've come in 10 years. I can only imagine where we're going to be in the next 10. So what's the
leap that you are kind of the most, I don't want to say the most proud of, but what is something that has changed so much since you entered into this business that it continues just to thrill you?
I just think that we are now a part of the beauty industry. Do you know what I mean? Like, we're not this like indie drugstore, or not drugstore, like health food store category anymore. Is you're seeing this category show up in some of the biggest beauty stores all over the world, right? So we are here to stay, and our brand founders are doing such incredible things in terms of bringing, forward-thinking, innovative products, much like Mary's, to the market. So I think for us, we're excited to be a part of it.
Mary, what about you? What is exciting you about being in the green beauty industry?
Well, people don't think we're a bunch of hippies anymore that are coming up. Not that I don't think anyone ever thought that before, but by the same token, I remember just when I did my very first one, which was my cleansing cloths, and I remember going to manufacturers, and they were like, why don't I just go and get rayon like everybody else? Why do you want this bamboo stuff? Like, and because I had come from traditional beauty in the back, so these were a lot of manufacturers that I worked with, it was just so hard to convince them to change, or to just give me a shot at this pilot production. And so now it's like, oh, you were a bit of a pioneer. I went, well, maybe, but you were a bit of a pain.
Validation is a lovely drink to take a sip of sometimes.
Yeah.
That is for sure. Mary Feuther, founder of Kaia Naturals, Laura Townsend, director of communications for the Detox Market. Thank you both so much for being here. This has been such a great conversation. If anyone has any questions, please reach out to the wonderful people at Lucid Communications. We're going to be putting up a slide with their contact information on there. If anyone hasn't experienced green beauty before, please, take a leap into the detox market. Check out Kaia Naturals so that you can see what you are missing. Mary, Laura, thank you so much.
Thanks, Donna.
Thank you,
You did a
Donna.
great job. Yeah.
Wishing everyone a great day. Thanks so much.
Thank you.